Hi.
Hey man, how you doing, Kyle?
I'm from
Good to see
GSP.
you.
How are
Nice
you?
to see you. I'm good,
I
good.
just want to talk to you about financial aid. First of all, you know who you are. I know you're Brian Lemma, but talk about your position, in the financial aid office and what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm an associate director in the office. I've been here for, 13 years now. Started back in 2000. I've been in literally this office, or this corner, which we call the cul-de-sac, for those visitors who come in forever, and I'll probably be here until I retire. But my job, I handle alphabetical caseloads R through Z, so any student who comes in whose last name begins with those letters is assigned to either me or an assistant director who works for me.
Okay, so.
And then there are others in the office who handle the other parts of the alphabet.
Okay, so each student's assigned their own counselor based off their last name.
Absolutely. So normally if a student comes in, they'll most likely see the assistant director who's assigned to their case who works for me.
Okay.
But I like seeing students, and there are times of the year when when they're on vacation where I see them as well. And so, and that's kind of the way it works here. We're very informal. We have multiple people who can handle somebody, and when we're shorthanded, we encourage students to come in, and it may be that they have to see somebody who doesn't normally handle their case, but they're still in good hands.
Okay, wonderful.
So,
Excellent. So, speaking of like financial aid and
By the way, do you like my tie?
It's wonderful.
Excellent,
I like the Michael Kors.
I did that because of you. Excellent. All right, yeah.
I was going to ask you. So, speaking about financial aid. So what should incoming freshman students be doing in terms of preparing, for the cost of college, in terms of textbooks and paying that those bills? Do they have like any loans? So what should they be doing right now?
Okay, well, you have to think about some of the indirect costs that are associated with college. So I mean, by now, hopefully, all the students have gotten their financial aid awards.
Okay.
The first thing I always say is make sure you can understand it, and you understand what you're really getting, like in terms of the difference between a work study and a loan and a scholarship, and understand and sort of ask questions. So if you don't understand something, or you don't see something's not on your bill, or you don't understand how it looks on your bill, that's what we're there for.
Okay.
If it's specifically a billing issue, we may refer them to someone else, but generally we can answer those questions. As far as planning, if you know that or if you're talking to your family and you're going to need a job, start thinking about should I be looking for a job now?
Okay.
The truth is that a lot of the jobs are now posted on the student employment website.
Yep.
So students who look in the summer are going to get a huge advantage over those who wait in terms of maybe being able to find a more desirable position.
Okay.
But also, trying to, if they're working in the summer, think about what sort of startup costs am I going to have.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean, I know there are ways as you're here and you start talking to students to find cheaper alternatives for books. But the truth is that there are expenses that you're going to have before you get here.
Okay.
Buying books when you get here, getting supplies before you come, and just sort of budgeting for that, because financial aid in a lot of times doesn't disperse until close to the beginning of the semester. So if students expecting to get a refund, there may be some things they need to purchase ahead of time.
Okay.
But a good rule of thumb is anytime the student has a question about how do I do this, or I need a computer, what can I do, what should I do, those are questions that should definitely be referred to us, because we've been doing this a long time, and our job is to make sure students have what they need.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. I was going to ask you another question too.
Yeah.
So aside from financial aid and being able to pay for it, is there a certain date when they need to have like all their bills paid for before the school year starts, or is that just go through the school year?
No, well, so billing statements went out in the beginning of July.
Okay.
Typically what happens is when a student gets the bill, they've already got their financial aid listed on there, so they can see what their balance is. Now, student accounts assesses a due date by a certain date.
Okay.
So students, families who have a balance that they need to pay for, generally need to hit that target date, which is like towards the end of August.
End of August. Okay.
Right. Now, through their My Access account, where they see their bill and they see their financial aid, they can set up a payment plan, perhaps, depending on what they owe. A couple of things to think about with the bill. One is everybody's getting billed for health insurance up front. So for like this year, a student's going to look at the bill and say, oh my gosh, I owe $2,300 more than I expected to.
Okay.
But remember that they fall into two groups. The vast majority of students don't need the health insurance because they have their own.
And they can waive that.
And they go through the My Access website and they waive that.
Okay.
If they need the health insurance because they're not covered elsewhere, they need to talk to us, because it may be that we can roll that into their financial aid and help them cover that. Okay. But generally they do want to try to hit target dates that are assigned for them by the billing office, because what's going to happen is eventually you know, we don't ever want to have any service charges to happen, or in cases where, you know, a registration block for the spring semester or something like that.
Okay.
The other thing that incoming freshmen have to remember is that if their parents are sitting waiting for a bill to come, no bills get mailed home. They all get delivered to the student through their GU, right, through they get an email to their net ID, their Georgetown email address, and that's where they go and view the bill, and their parents can have access to that, but they need to be proactive. They need to make sure when they get something from an office at Georgetown that they look at it right away and that they share it with their parents.
Be quick and have to know, you know, what to ask for.
Absolutely, because you know, when a parent calls in September and says, I never got a bill, then we unfortunately have to say, well, you know, your son or daughter got it back in July. So it's making sure, sitting down with the family, communicating, making sure they know dates. And, you know, generally, we get a lot of questions that aren't financial aid questions. We do that a lot of ways because we're very accessible.
Okay.
So it's okay for a student to come in and ask a question that isn't related to financial aid, because generally what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the phone and find out who they talk to and make a connection with them and get them to the right place.
Okay.
Okay.
So how would a student contact the financial aid office? Would they go through My Access?
There's a lot of different ways. They can go to the Georgetown website, which is finaid.georgetown.edu.
Okay.
And there's a place where you click on the Contact Us page, and you can see the alphabetical listings, and you can click on it and send an email that way.
Okay.
You know, certainly students can call. The other thing is, when we're open between 9 and 5, we don't do we very rarely do appointments. We just do walk-ins. So a student can come in at any time and sign in and get assigned to someone to talk. And I actually recommend that for new students, just to kind of put a face with a name, build that relationship, and so then down the road, if they, you know, we want to have a comfort. We don't want students to be intimidated. If there's a financial concern and there's a lot of stress, that's going to impact their ability to perform well. So we want to take that barrier down and make sure that they know that they can come and talk to us anytime about anything. It's confidential, and we'll work to the extent we can to get their problems solved. We don't want them to go out and take a loan or get a credit card and buy stuff without talking to us first, because there may be better options.
You guys are here to help. You know,
Absolutely.
You're here to work with them, not work against them.
Absolutely, definitely. You bet.
Last question.
Yeah.
So where are you guys located in Georgetown campus?
Sure, we are in the basement of Healy Hall, G-19. So we're in the big building you see from the Key Bridge, but we're actually in the basement. So if you go to the front steps, you can see there's a sign on both sides, and you can actually just go down the steps and walk in. And again, we're open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and they can come anytime. Yeah.
Right by GSP too.
All right, the other end of the hall. You bet. My pleasure.
It's been a
Anytime.
pleasure.
You bet.
All
Take
right,
care.
You too.
All right.